Hi everybody, welcome to Wine Design. My name is Kimberly. First things first, we're going to be starting with the colors that we have in front of us. Okay, so the colors that we have are as following. We have the red, we have white, we have green, we have black, and we have yellow. So we are only using 5 colors today. Next, make sure you have a fan or your hair dryer to allow this to dry up. Then we have our background brush, our round tip brush, our little flat brush, and our detail brush. Okay, so starting off first, we're actually going to be picking up our background brush. And we are going to be starting off with our green. We're going to be moving on to a dark green. I always make sure that I tell you guys that just because our paint is out of the bottle doesn't mean it's ready to use. So that means that we are going to come back and we're going to add water to make sure that it's manageable. You guys have taken some classes with me before, so this shouldn't be that difficult. If you guys have any questions, don't feel bad. Let me know. If I'm going too fast, don't feel bad and let me know. This picture is fairly easy. It's not that difficult, so it really shouldn't take us probably more than an hour. We are going to do some levels. We're going to be using a dark green, then we're going to be using a basic green and a little bit of a yellow, and we're going to be making roses today, okay? So starting off, we are going to be picking up our background brush, making sure that we can dip that into our water. And we're going to start by adding that to our green. So because we are trying to make this a little darker, instead of moving our green to our black and just wasting all of our green in there, we're going to pick up the darker color and we're going to be mixing that with the green instead. It's a little easier to control it when you move the darker color into the lighter color. If you move the lighter color into the darker, it's usually very difficult to control the temperature, okay? So to control how light or how dark it is. Okay, let me make sure I get this nice and mixed. Okay, so we are making a dark green. And this is the bottom of my canvas right here. Okay, so again, we're making like a dark green. Okay, and we are gonna start by actually pressing our brush this way. Okay, so instead of doing crosses like that, we're pressing it, standing up, letting it expand, and we're creating those little dabs. Coming in with those dabs and just kind of piling them on top of each other. And we're gonna continue this, making little hills. And these hills we're gonna be expanding into smaller and smaller sections. Okay, it's gonna be clustered and fully green down the bottom. And as we get higher, our marks are gonna get smaller and smaller. So we're gonna transfer from our background brush to our round tip brush. And these are actually, this one and the detail are gonna be the only brushes that we're gonna be using. So we're not really gonna use our square one. I'm removing that from the equation. There we go. So we're starting off with our large background brush. And we're picking up our green. And again, it's going to be completely full down here and the lines are going to be more spread out as we go to the top. Okay, so I'm just kind of going to take it from there. You guys can kind of follow along. And again, my lines are not straight, they're kind of going everywhere. These dabs are signifying the leaves that we have in our painting. Okay, so you kind of have to press and pull on opposite directions and then kind of layer that up. We want to see all of the marks. We don't want to see So if you guys notice, we do have it a little bit thicker towards the bottom. Now, as we start to work our way up, we're still going to be going back and forth between that dark green, okay, except that we're going a little bit smaller, okay. Okay, so right here, I'm putting off some towards the side, and we're going to start to actually separate them a little bit more. You notice? Okay, so once I make the smaller ones, I'm going to be switching over from this big brush to my round tip brush. Okay, so let me add a few more on this side, kind of make it a smoother transition so that it looks like we have little ones coming out of this big section. Okay, so again, you don't want to make it look like there's a single line here. So we are going to kind of make this one a little bit bigger. We're making these little hills. We're making these lines uneven. So again, we're coming in with a little bit more of that green. Okay, so again, notice how these are all uneven, right? So there we go. We're starting to kind of spread out now. So now we are going to come with our round tip, just so that we can get smaller petals. And I'm going to go around and just kind of play with those also. And I'm going to be filling it up all the way to the top on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, it's going to be a little bit different. We're going to kind of just decrease it and then go up. Okay? So you guys are going to see me kind of work with that right now. Guys, so just as a reminder again, notice how everything is a lot closer together in the bottom. It's a lot darker down here. And as we start to go up, we start to get more spread out. Also, look at all the space we have here of white. We're not filling it all the way to the top. We're still leaving these gaps right here. This one's a small one, this is a bigger gap, and this one's even bigger. So quick thing, if you guys are done with this and you want to move on, the color we're going to be using next, and you can actually mix it. So you can come in with your green, and we're going to mix our green because it is the darker color, and we're going to be mixing it in with our yellow. See that? So we're going to have green with some yellow, and we're just going to come in and put a little bit of highlights throughout our petals. Let me zoom in. You see how pretty that yellow looks right there? Then we bring the color down a bit, the intensity. There we go. So we have that yellow highlight. Again, it's going to be kind of like a lime green highlight. And we're just going to come in and add a little bit of that lime green to some of the petals on top to bring up some brightness on these top petals. Okay, so you can decide to kind of mix it in already. Again, if you want to make it a little bit more yellow, this is the difference. So this is a little bit more green on this side. Let me show you. So we have it a little bit more green over here. And in comparison to adding just a little bit more yellow, that's the difference you get there, okay? So this is a green, and then this is the lighter yellow attached to it. You could add a little bit of yellow on top of that lime green, just to add an extra oomph of highlight. So you decide, do you want to make it lime green? Do you want to make it a little bit more yellow? And don't put it on all of them. Just kind of spread the color out and you'll start to get a little bit of a highlight. You see that? That's looking really pretty. So we're just going to go in there with that yellow. And we're just going to apply it on some of these leaves really loose. It's not going to be on all of them. So don't stress out and be like, man, there's so many. How am I going to fill them all up? Don't worry. Just go in there and very loosely apply it to some, and that'll be enough. We're going to start applying our lime green towards the top of our bush, of our rose bush. There are fewer, more spread out dots. Therefore, the sun is going to be coming in from the right, and it's going to be shining and reflecting off of our leaves. It's going to be a little bit darker towards the bottom, a little bit more condensed because there is more leaves. They're closer together. They're more bunched up. Therefore, they're going to be a little bit darker. We are going to, in other words, make it a little bit more congested with the lime green on top. And as we make our way down, we're going to separate them a little bit more, just to be inclusive with the lime green, but to at the same time spread it out so it still looks darker beneath. Guys, as we move on, we're going to dry this and we're going to make sure that it's nice and dry. I'm going to be using my hair dryer, and that way we can move on to the next step, which is going to be our flowers. So moving on, we're using our round tip. We are going to be using our red, okay, and then we're going to be mixing our red with white. So on the right hand side, we're going to pick up a little bit of that white and we're going to mix it with this red right here. We're trying to make a lighter pink. Okay, and we're actually going to add maybe just a little bit of yellow to that. So we get more of like a peach pink color. Okay, so we're adding a little bit of yellow. And look at how pretty that color is looking. It's looking like a bubblegum pink, right? Look at that. Let me zoom it in for you guys. See, we got like a bubblegum pink with adding a little bit of our red with yellow and just a slight bit of white. Okay, so there we go. Maybe a little bit more yellow. And then we're going to get part of that and we're moving it into our white to get a third color, okay? And this is going to be our lightest color. So if you see, we have a total of 3. 1, 2, which is red, white, and yellow, and 3, which is this color pushed into our white so that we get a very light baby pink, okay? So these are the colors that we're going to be using. We're going to start off first at the center. I'm going to show you guys how to make a couple of roses. We're going to be working on this corner over here. And then we're going to be moving on. The same thing that we do to this rose, we're going to do to the rest. Okay, so coming over here to the bottom corner, that's what you guys are looking at right here. It's the bottom corner. See, this is where it ends. We're going to start off first with our red. Remember to pick up a little bit of water to make it smooth. For this though, we are going to use our paint a little bit thicker because we want to pile it on top so that we can mix colors with it and it'll mix a lot better. We want it to stay kind of lumpy. So we're going on the inside, okay? And I'm making kind of like a center circle, okay? See that? You can add a little bit of yellow to that too, to that red. So we get like a peach color. There we go. Added just a little bit of yellow to it. And we're just going to kind of go around. And these petals on the outside are going to be a little bit fatter. And we're just going to kind of go around our rose a little bit. Okay, if you've made flowers with me before, it's kind of the same concept, except that the petals are a little bit wider and a little bit more invasive. Okay, so next I'm grabbing that bubblegum pink color. And I'm pressing a little bit harder, making them wide lines in between. And then I'm coming on the sides, and wherever the line breaks, like right here, it breaks in half. In the back, I'm gonna go a little bit bigger and tuck it in. Okay, so instead of going in just circles, we're tucking it in to the actual back. So it looks like it's going into the actual, instead of surrounding it, it looks like it's going into the bottom of the flower. Okay, so we did one section there. Next, I'm grabbing that light pink. I'm gonna add a little bit more yellow to it. I want it to be more of a peach color. There we go. You see that? It's kind of like a peach pink. It's pink with a little bit of yellow. Okay, and we're gonna come in and press a little harder. We're gonna start to add a little bit of that peach pink texture. Okay. And then we're just gonna pick up a little bit of white and rub that in between to add a highlight. Okay, the white always goes a little bit more towards the outside. And we're gonna do that in different sizes. So we have this big one over here. Next, we're gonna come in, we're gonna do a smaller one. Okay, try not to be so intimidated with your flowers. They don't have to be perfect. This is very expressionistic, so the brush strokes are gonna be a little rougher. We're gonna come around, and we made another flower right there already. See that? It's another flower. So then we're gonna come up top. Again, we're starting with the Sender Red, coming around, grabbing a little bit of that bubblegum pink, putting it in the middle. See, and that's why it's better if we make all three colors so that it's easier to just come in and pick it up. If you want to add more white and you think, oh my gosh, I don't have enough white, it looks very dark, come back and just scrape the white on top. So pick up some white and we're scraping it. If you notice, I'm applying my color nice and thick. I'm not wetting my brush so much. And that's because I'm working with wet paint. If I push too much, I'm gonna blend the color. I don't wanna blend it. I just kind of want to, like a cake spatula. We're just using it to put kind of the paint over the top so that it can blend with whatever color is already there. Okay, so these are the bigger flowers. As we move up, we're gonna do smaller ones again. So it's kind of the same thing. There you go, see that? That's a small one. I'm gonna come back with that bubblegum pink. Boom, add that around. I'm gonna come back with a little bit of the lighter pink. Add that around. And then I'm gonna come back with some white. See how this one is a little bit messy, but it still kind of looks like a flower. So it's basically just color that's clustered together. Okay, as we move out, you can make some flowers look like they're coming out of your canvas. Like this one. This little one is just a bunch of colors mixed together on the side. See? Up on top, as we go up, you're just gonna dab all those colors together, combine. See that? It doesn't really even look like a flower. But when you look at it from a distance, look at that. Let me zoom out. Look at how that does look like a flower. And all we're doing is just dabbing colors together. Let me zoom in so you can see what that looks like. It doesn't even look like a flower. Look at that. Does that look like a flower to you? It looks like a mixture of colors with the basics of having the red, pink, and then white. So we're gonna continue to do that for all the little ones. That's basically what we're doing. We're just coming in and we're just dabbing dots of those mixtures of colors. Just make sure that your brush has all those colors on there. So see, I'm bringing in another one. Maybe that's too pink. So I'm gonna come in and maybe add a little bit of red. That's too red. So maybe I'll come back and I'll add a little bit of that bubblegum pink. And there you go. We have a bunch of little flowers. So this is what you're gonna be doing throughout the whole painting, okay? So I'm gonna be painting my flowers. You guys can do your flowers exactly like where I'm putting mine, Or you guys can go and just, depending on your painting, place your flowers wherever you want, okay? The closer you are to the bottom, the bigger your flowers are gonna be. The farther you get to the top, the smaller your flowers are gonna be. And you're just gonna get these dabs. Okay, so if you go higher, they're gonna be really small. As you go bigger, they're gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, why? Because this is the top of the bushes that are flying and we're looking at it from up close from the bottom. And that's why we see the flowers super big. Okay, so let's work on that for a little bit. Don't forget, if your roses are too shaded, go ahead and add some highlights. Let me zoom in. This is what my colors look like. I added some dark colors and then some highlights over the top. The tops are just a bunch of dabs of the different varieties of pinks and white. Flowers will be curving downwards towards the left, getting larger as we get closer to the bottom. So when you're done, this is what your painting should look like. All you need is to put your signature on the bottom right hand side, and you're done. Thank you. Hopefully I see you in another class.